This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And I'm your host, Dave Jewett, and today we're breaking down the weapons of the one, the only, the Matrix. The Wachowskis insisted the 50 AE Desert Eagle was the agent's weapon of choice against the advice of the armourer, who called them, and I quote, pistols.
I didn't know that. The agents are
Yeah, the agents are everything about the agents are dialed up. They're meant to be faster, stronger. Give them a Desert Eagle.
Yeah.
If you want a longer, deeper, extended edition of our Matrix breakdown, then be sure to check out our Patreon. Also, we now have merch. You can check out the full collection at expvideo.info, but a little more on that later. But now, without further ado, it's over to Jonathan.
Here we go with The Matrix, one of the greatest action films and sci-fi films of all time. Sorry, I went a bit Clarkson there, but if ever something deserved it, it's this. Glock 17. Now, I didn't realise this until later, but this is the first film to feature a Gen 3 Glock 17. Or Gen 3 Glock, full stop, I think. Very prominent there. The movie opens on a Glock, pretty much opens on a Glock 17 front and centre. And it's just generic cop gun at the end of the day. A couple of films came out around this time that just had my friends and I just turning to look at each other after them. One was Blade, the nightclub scene, and the other one is this. The gun kind of stars here as a sort of almost a pivot that the fight happens around, especially with the disarm. Well, Trinity using it to shoot the other, spoiler alert, programs. They're not really cops. Shoots them with the guy's own gun. And the whole scene almost sort of rotates around that gun. Not in a bullet time sense.
But eventually, a bullet time sense.
Yes. But I guess what I'm sort of driving at is that the Glock is, although it's brand new in this generation, for the movies anyway, it's not treated as a hero weapon. It's the weapon of essentially the bad guys, or one of them. This confused the heck out of me in the cinema in 1999. By the way, went to see The Matrix having no idea what it was about. So I had the purest, best experience of seeing The Matrix on a big screen, no idea what it was about, and it just blew our minds, as did these weird guns. They're entirely custom. They're not based on really anything real, which isn't really something that the movies did again. Not really. Like, there are a few guns that are sort of customized, but I can't think of any, apart from obviously in the real world, where the guns are entirely fictional within the construct of the Matrix, which is of course completely doable. You could have had a load of fantasy guns. They could have put some direct anime references in there with some crazy looking guns. By and large, they wanted it to look like the world of the then present. So they didn't mostly do that, but for whatever reason, and I'm not entirely sure why, I haven't seen the behind the scenes features for a long time, they went with this, I think it's a gas driven revolver shotgun thing, and two of them, and it's a kind of, sorry mouse, but a relatively minor character that's wielding them. Kind of, I'd love to know how that came about in a bit more detail. One I'd like to do a deeper dive on at some point, maybe even acquire one of.
When I was doing research, people were comparing this to the High Standard Model 10, because it looks like Mouse has sort of torches above the barrel, and then drawing comparisons to other sort of like grenade launchers or gas projectors.
Yeah, if it's inspired by anything, it's the Manville gas grenade launcher, which we do actually have, but doesn't have a huge annular drum that wraps around your arm and is a completely different shape. I guess I could have shown you that, but it's so, I almost don't want to tie this to any real world gun. This is, as they say, a mugs game. Now, these rifles, for years I had no idea what these were. They are, in fact, bear with me, because I'd forgotten about these. So, I don't remember what I thought these were when I saw the movie the first however many times, but what they actually are is a version of this, the Australian Leader T2. So this is probably police orientated, but effectively a civilian semi-auto carbine. These things are full auto, I think, but The Matrix was filmed in Australia, as I'm sure some of you know, which leads to some of the weapon choices being dictated by what's available, and this being a local design, rather than go for SIG 550s or something, they went with this. And it's, on one hand, somewhat generic, sort of AR-18 adjacent, legally different, but it is its own design. And perhaps most notably, it's got a cocking handle up here on the handguard, which is quite unusual. And for it to be built into the handguard, I should say. And the bolt, perhaps we'll cover this on our channel at some point, once people have forgotten that I've shown you it here, is a 3-lug triangular shaped bolt. That was its sort of unique feature, if you like.
I think I'd forgotten about it being shot in Australia, because obviously it's like I said, it's dictated some of the weapon choices. The armourer, John Bowring, was Australian. So Australian, in fact. His first credited movie gig is Crocodile Dundee.
Amazing.
You can't get more Australian than that.
If you're out there, so I'd love to communicate and learn more about your experience on this film.
Lots of guns.
We reenacted this scene on your channel.
We did, yes. Maybe go and watch it for Dave's performance rather than mine.
No, it's not good.
So what do you need besides a miracle?
Guns. Lots of guns.
I think mine's worse.
No, you get to slap an MP5. It's instantly better.
Actually, Trinity, we have done this twice before. This is going to be the third in our Antiques Gun Show series. And this time, we're looking at 80s and 90s action movies.
Yeah, I think my slap was okay, but the line delivery was, I could have done with a few more takes. But yeah, Josh did a great job with the editing.
Yeah, Josh, when he reached out to ask if I wanted to do that, I was like, of course I'll be the man in the chair. But Easter egg from my shot is, because the symbols aren't on my keyboard, so I hit J and F instead in the close-up shot of my keyboard.
I mean, if you must roll in the clip, I'm sure you can. It gave my old Matrix coat an outing, so I was happy about that. As to the scene itself, I mean, nothing. I hadn't seen anything like that before. Again, in retrospect, thinking, God, what a nightmare for the armourer to practically rack up an absolute ton of guns, enough the same that make it look like you can order up infinite amounts of whatever you want in this construct, but also some variety, and you can sort of see how he's had to fill in the blanks and make it look, obviously it's enhanced in post and everything, but there are a lot of real guns on those racks, and it's only these days really that I think about, oh yeah, that would be, I mean, in the scheme of things, I suppose it's not the most difficult thing he had to contend with, but nonetheless, that's probably someone's whole inventory, possibly another prop house's inventory, all on one rack. Now, so I think our first glimpse at an MP5K. So I shall grab one. Not that I need an emotional support weapon for this movie, but yeah. So I have on occasion done the Keanu fist bump slap. There's something to be said for it. Someone criticised me for it in the comments once. Now, he does have his finger on the trigger. I'd be remiss if I didn't point that out, that he has his finger on the trigger while he's manipulating this. I think he learned years later to not. Mind you, John Wick, actually, one of the things he sort of does wrong is to leave his finger on the trigger more than he should. But hey.
These are our original designs that we're putting on our merch. They're actually what's on my back right now. So we've worked with someone called Hat Legs to create these designs for some EXP merchandise, and I thought it'd be fun to get your thoughts on them.
What's it going to be? What the hell is that?
There's definitely had an element of Bond inspiring it.
Yeah, so a PPK, gold-plated PPK with a scope and a suppressor, and then white furniture for some reason, and a Papasha drum mag. Yeah, unusual. Striking. Oh, is that a holster stock as well? Oh, good lord. There's a lot of thought gone into these designs, I'll say that. All the wrong thoughts, but a lot of thought. Oh, good grief. Inspired, I guess, by the clock spring on the Striker shotgun or the Street Sweeper. We've got one that has an actual clock built into it. I would have that in my house as a clock, but my wife wouldn't.
Our cursed collection is a limited run, but features 10 very cursed weapon designs, and we also have a permanent core collection using EXP's logos, but we've got t-shirts, hoodies, and even posters and pint glasses, all at EXP Video. EXP.info. And if you check out the collection and decide to treat yourself, then it also means you're supporting the work we do here at EXP. But now, we'll get back to the video.
This scene is just absolute peak.
Incredible.
Unsurpassed.
Forever referenced, never topped. The Matrix PS2 game, I replayed this level so many times, just trying to make it look as cool as it does in the movie.
Yeah, hell, I watched this scene so many times. Like, in the early days of the internet, there were a few clips floating around of it, and if you couldn't handily throw on the DVD or even the VHS, this is so old, there was a VHS of it, then you would fire up a tiny QuickTime video of the lobby scene and go, oh, must watch that film again. But absolutely everything about it, the set design, the practical effects, the costume, the physical acting, and the gun choice, the squibs, there's so much practical going on here. But that, I love the sort of the grim visual gag of him walking through the metal detector and it just going off, and the security guys not knowing what the hell to do, and then he draws, of course, not one but two MP5Ks from under his capacious coat and fires them cross-body at the guys either side of him. So there's a ton of creativity in how they've designed this. And the Beretta 92, so he's absolutely strapped, of course, literally, has this harness on with multiple different weapons.
Well, when he goes through the metal detector, the lights seem to imply, like, it's not got a little bit of metal. Yeah. Green is an acceptable amount of metal. It maxes it out. He's just got so much metal on him, and it's all in his guns and bullets.
He's very metal. And of course, I think 2 pairs of 92s. So he does the New York reload thing. As soon as something is empty, it gets discarded, and he draws the next one to cut down on reload time. Choice of the Beretta 92. Here is one. I'm a big fan of. Always loved it. I don't know if they had things like Lethal Weapon in mind when they Die Hard, more so for me, in mind when they chose it. We have a couple of arguably very generic US military weapons here. This was, of course, the M9 for many years. It was the current service pistol when this came out. And the M16A1, or rather, well, we'll come to it in a moment, but something pretending to be an M16A1. And yet somehow the way they're presented just elevates them from being sort of what could be generic military weapons to issue that are very common and lots of people are familiar with. To me, these are almost definitive performances for these weapons. Now, we also have, slightly weirdly, this also confused me at the time, we have a pair of Skorpions, VZ61 Skorpions. Again, here are a pair, because, couldn't resist. But they're modified. They have strange extended sort of barrel shrouds on them. They have really long magazines. I think at the time I thought they were something that was available on the Skorpion. They're not. I think they're like custom 30-round mags on there. They also have the unique ability to eject 5.56mm cartridge cases in an editing, I won't say error, it's a choice. They've deliberately gone with it because it was a cool shot of cartridge cases raining, and either don't know or don't care that they are far too long to fit in the weapon. Needless to say, no one cares about that because they're absolutely absorbed by the scene. We forgive that. Now, we are already at the SPAS 12, and we're using it in pump mode, of course, for reasons. In reality, that would be for the use of shells, cartridges that don't operate the semi-automatic mode successfully, and you would revert to pump just for those. In this case, it's because it's very cool, and they've chosen the gun for its sort of screen presence, not because it's a semi-auto, or optionally a semi-auto. Primarily, I would say, intended to be a semi-auto. And this is one of the best disarms of all time. Spinning the gun around, and then the guy gets blown away from behind by his own gun. I'm just narrating it at this point. It's redundantly, but I mean, we can only speculate on why certain weapons were chosen, but SPAS 12s can't have been too common in Australia, so I wonder if that was we must have SPAS 12s in our movie. We've seen Jurassic Park. The micro Uzis. Now, I didn't realise until very recently that the Uzi pistol came first. So the semi-auto pistol was designed first, and it was only made fully automatic after the fact, as it were. So they start making them from the same parts at the factory as full auto machine pistols later on. They run at a high rate, so he empties the pair that he has, chucks them, and then does that absolutely spectacular walk up the guy and kick him in the head shot, which is just gold. Slice of fried gold. Just look at that chaos.
The fact that the majority of it was practical is nuts, especially for 1999.
The late 90s, early 2000s, where the majority of stuff is still done practically because it has to be. I forgot about the fall.
How much did that fall cost the production, you reckon? Having to reset all of those squibs or tiny plaster explosions.
And you could almost have run with just the live audio. It's so chaotic. I don't know how they ever got this filmed. I'm just watching the footage at this point. Yeah, I'm overdue a rewatch of this. I really am.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time for me as well.
And we move up to the rooftop. The IMFDB still is this is obviously a rubber gun, which I'm just as bad for doing, but you really don't see that in real time. So the gun that I've happened to have picked up. This is a Colt Model 604. So this is a commercial example of the US Air Force M16. So it is identical in every respect to an M16, but it is not marked as such. It's marked, of course, Colt AR-15. Like all AR-15s, including M16s, were until a fair way into the production of the M16A1. I think they're all Colt SP1s converted to automatic. So they look like this one, with the main reason I picked this up is it has the 3-prong flash hider of the early SP1s, and indeed the early XM16E1s, and the early M16s. But what they're actually using are these. Obviously 20-round magazines, which I think that doesn't really make sense for the movie because they should probably have 30s for how much gunfire is going on, but they look cooler with the that Vietnam era look with the 20-round mag, and especially with the 3-prong flash hider. Not actually M16s, Colt SP1s converted to automatic, and hence they lack the forward assist. So they are sort of cosplaying as US Air Force M16s, or maybe earlier US Air Force or other British Army, for example. Colt Model 604s, like the one I just showed you. So this is what they're using in the movie. And it is also marked Colt AR-15, but with the specific variant Colt SP1 marked on it. And that's why people now think that AR-15 means semi-automatic, because these guys carried on being marked AR-15 and the M16 dropped that name on the guns, but it remained in Colt marketing and elsewhere. Anyway, getting a bit off piece with that one, but very, very typical for semi-auto rifles to be converted to auto. Same goes for the MP5 with the HK94, just a lot easier to get hold of. And we get that famous bullet time shot, also filmed practically with some CGI enhancement. Fantastic scene. Somehow the agent turns his whole body to face her before he gets blown away. He's actually side on. Slight continuity issue there. The gun is the baby brother of the 92F. It's an 84F. Well, actually, these may well be FS models. Internal modification only, they look the same. And it's the usual situation of people with smaller hands, often women, get cast with smaller guns. Either by their own preference or because it just doesn't look right, or it's awkward for them to hold much bigger guns. And the 92 does have a massive chunky grip. It really is quite a brick too. I have quite long fingers, so I actually really get on well with the grip of the 92. A lot of people don't, who have shorter fingers / smaller hands. And it isn't really apparent just how tiny this gun is in Carrie-Anne Moss's hands. It's an appropriate scale for her. But if you put them side by side, it really is. It's like a pocket pistol. Sort of stablemate of the 92.
Well, from the smaller pistols to the bigger ones, I'm very glad that the Desert Eagle was the agent's sidearm of choice, because apparently the Wachowskis insisted that the 50 AE Desert Eagle was the agent's weapon of choice, against the advice of the armourer, who called them, and I quote, wanker pistols.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's on the production notes, there was like a small disagreement about the Desert Eagles, and John Bowering said they're wanker pistols.
I mean,
but now
the agents.
What else could they have? They work so well as the weapon of the agent.
Yeah.
Like, because
The
everything
agents
about
are
the
wankers.
agent, yeah, well, yeah, the agents are wankers, but everything about the agents are dialed up. They're meant to be faster, stronger, more intimidating, more intense. How do you dial that up in a pistol form? Give them a Desert Eagle.
Yeah, so they may not look that physically imposing, but they are super villain henchmen, essentially. So why shouldn't they have it? And just the sound effect for this thing in the movie is fantastic. Yeah, I love the fact that he didn't want them to use them. Maybe that was partly because he would have trouble sourcing them as well, I don't know. Ah, yes, the minigun. Which I have held, actually, not in this configuration.
The minigun from The Matrix.
Yeah, so the photo I've shown you of me with the Predator / Terminator 2 minigun, mounts, the chute, the backpack, all of that is from those movies. But the gun in that mount is this one.
Oh wow!
They told me at the time, it's not the actual gun from those movies because I used to own that, but then I think it was the case. Sold it, and I've got this, and I'd like to get it back. And so for now, I've just got the minigun from The Matrix. I'm like, that kind of makes it even better. No, I haven't hauled out a minigun this time, but you've seen us with one before. We have 3 in the collection, and actually, if you visit us here in Leeds, you'll see one in very Matrix helicopter mounts on display in the museum. But this scene has to be top 3, I think, of minigun scenes of all time, or even Gatling gun scenes of all time. If you want, I mean, I'm sure the Western movie fans will be upset about that, but come on. We've got Predator, T2. This one is just, I love the idea that he's like, this is how miniguns are supposed to work in a mount on a vehicle or a helicopter. Well, then I'm going to just sort of strap on the helicopter and use that as a weapon against the agents. And it's gold. And you can argue this is the best one in some ways, for one reason in particular, I think, which is that incredible shot from below of the cases raining down. Don't think anything else quite captured that.
It's really weird, Jonathan. You told me before we started rolling your favourite minigun in movies was in Die Another Day, mounted on the back of a Jaguar.
Did I say that?
No, I'm just...
No, I didn't think so.
Paid a target
Funnily
on your
enough,
back.
I saw that very Jaguar in the States 2 weeks ago.
The ever-growing lore of Jonathan Ferguson.
Yeah, I went to the International Spy Museum, and the temporary exhibition was Bond cars, and that green XK8, was it? With a now wooden minigun, by the look of it, or resin or something, was there. Yeah, and I was reminded of that slightly lackluster scene. It's just moment after moment in this film, and so much of that is driven by the guns. Oh, well, not driven by, but through, as it were. And I think the difficulty of where the hell you go from here and then having him fly up into the sky is why we had some controversy over the sequels, because you can't top this.
Thank you all for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed, and let us know in the comment section below what other games, movies, TV shows, or beyond you'd like to see on the show. As always, a massive shout out to all of our supporters over on Patreon for supporting EXP and for allowing us to make cool content like this. Links to support Jonathan and the Royal Armouries will be in the description below, so make sure you check those out. But until we see each other again in the next episode, thank you again for watching, and we will see you real soon.